Está bien. Okay, bien, vamos a comenzar lección uno. So this is the very first lesson of the very first level of Spanish I give. Here I'm really preparing my students to start speaking, to start having very, it's going to be simple, kind of basic conversations, whether that be for work, talking to people here in the community, or traveling throughout Latin America.
Okay.
My goal with this very first course is to get you comfortable enough so that you feel confident introducing yourself to native Spanish speakers, making small talk with people, and then kind of life skills, ordering food in restaurants and shopping, that sort of thing.
Nice.
I'm also really big on teaching like culture and nonverbal communication and kind of cross-cultural communication that doesn't necessarily have to do with the language, because it's part language, it's part culture to really be successful interacting with people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Today is going to be all about teaching you how to introduce yourself to people, right? So simple concept, if you want to start speaking Spanish, you have to start speaking Spanish. And how do you do that?
You start speaking Spanish.
Yeah, you have to start introducing yourself to Spanish speakers. So today's I'm going to teach you the most common greetings, los saludos, a little culture tip behind talking to people, greeting people. We'll talk about cognates to build up your confidence. If you speak German and studied French, you probably know what cognates are. We'll talk about pronunciation and the 5 vowel sounds, numbers up to 10, and then vocab that most of my students can use both at work and at school. Bueno, me llamo David. Here's my contact information. And if you can take a screenshot, that would be great to make sure you have this, because this is my direct contact information, not what you've been, not the same number that you got messages through earlier.
Got it. Okay.
And then if you're on Facebook or on LinkedIn, I always invite my students to connect with me on social media.
Will do.
Perfecto. Un poco de mi experiencia. Yo soy de los Estados Unidos, so I'm from the United States. So why am I teaching Spanish? Yo viví en España, Argentina, Chile, y Ecuador. I actually, when I was pretty young, I decided I wanted to get serious about learning Spanish, and I moved to Spain, came back, did a few more trips, explored all over South America, ended up living in Argentina for a year. And then I've traveled all over the place. Viajé a Cuba, a la República Dominicana, a Mexico, Colombia, Uruguay, y Bolivia también. So I've traveled to about half of the Spanish-speaking countries. ¿Y tú, Karl? ¿De dónde eres? So where are you from?
I'm from New Jersey, here in the United States.
Okay.
Yeah, and
so you could say soy de.
Soy what?
Soy de. Soy de.
De. Okay, soy de.
Soy de New Jersey, or
soy
de los Estados Unidos.
Los Estados Unidos. Soy de los Estados Unidos.
Nice. Have you ever been to a Spanish-speaking country?
I have. Yeah, Spain, Mexico. Brazil's not a Spanish-speaking.
Brazil's technically Portuguese, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Well, that's a pretty good start, Spain and Mexico. Hopefully I can inspire you to keep going.
Cool.
Un poco de mi experiencia profesional. Soy maestro de español desde el 2005. I've been teaching Spanish now since 2005. Kind of an interesting story. That was the year I did my year abroad, and I was a junior in college. And so I did a year abroad in Argentina. And when I moved back and finishing up my senior year, all my professors noted like, oh, wow, David actually perfected this language while he was down in Argentina. And they invited me to start tutoring at my college, which was Eckerd College. And so that kind of gave me a unique experience, because what do tutors do? They fix what is broken.
Right.
That's what kind of eventually led me to creating this program, instead of just fixing why teach the traditional approach that everybody needs to go out and hire an extra tutor for, when I could just actually teach all these tricks that I have in my classes and make the focus on conversation, which is what students really want. And here I am. ¿Y tú? ¿A qué te dedicas? What do you do for work, Karl?
I am a computer software I guess you'd call it an architect of sorts. I'm a systems architect for a Silicon Valley enterprise software vendor.
Okay, yeah. I like to tell people I did a stint in the software world, so
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't like it that much. I started my career, and when I graduated college, I did sales and marketing for a software company. It was a startup in Boulder, and I did that for a few years. I kept teaching and tutoring on the side, and one thing led to another. The company started going under, and I decided to open up my own school here in 2012. So
well, I'm glad it gave you the bridge to get there.
it was a fascinating. I can't complain. It was fascinating. I got experience. I worked side by side with the CEO before, while we were still in stealth mode, and we went through launch and product development, and took the company from like 0 to 10 million in a couple of years, and then it just started with this competitor came out of nowhere and just destroyed us. So it was a unique experience.
It's a very competitive business.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah.
Pues me gusta means I like. Me gusta tocar la guitarra y tocar los tambores. Me gusta viajar. Me gusta ir al gimnasio. Me gusta leer y también me gusta ver películas. Algo interesante, something interesting about myself. Yo bailaba con un grupo profesional de salsa. So I used to be a professional salsa dancer.
Oh, really?
There's a picture of us performing at the Boulder Theater back in 2008. It's kind of fun.
Awesome. Well, that's cool.
¿Y a ti qué te gusta? What do you like, Karl?
I like riding my bicycle, going to the gym, reading, especially science fiction and some, a lot of nonfiction, and traveling.
Okay, nice.
I think I said traveling already, but yeah. I don't play an instrument. I've tried to. I went down that road trying to teach myself piano recently, but I might pick that up again as a retirement exercise.
Yeah, there's a music school just past I-70 off of Havana, so crossing over to the other side of I-70 on the left, Pearson Music School.
Okay.
So I was taking some lessons with my son there last year. We actually need to pick that back up again. But cool place. Bueno, ¿por qué estudiar español? So why study Spanish? There's over 20 countries in the world.
Yeah, a few countries that speak it. Yeah. The US isn't on there.
Yeah, it should be though. Technically, the US, there's more Spanish speakers in the United States than there are in Spain now. So I would definitely add the US to this list. And on a later slide, you'll see that. The other thing about these countries is they tend to be really fun countries to go to. There's a couple that I would avoid. I wouldn't go to Bolivia again. Right now, it's a shame. I really want to go to Venezuela, but not right now.
Yeah.
I would avoid most of Central America, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras. I don't think there's a lot of good stuff happening there right now. But outside of that, they're really fun places, and the US dollar goes really far too.
We just came back from Mexico, and this is what we wound up actually buying a timeshare there. Where? In Cabo
San Lucas. Oh, wow.
Cabo San Lucas. Yeah. And I've had a relationship with, so I've worked in Mexico City and Monterrey, been to Cabo. What else? Yeah, it's pretty much it. And really the vacation stuff has been really fun always. The working experience was an eye opener. You brought up culture before, and this is something that I really developed a respect for, and actually a love for the way the Mexicans work.
Yeah. That
I wasn't familiar with, right? And I boiled it down to this corporate tagline that I learned, that we were trained on a long time ago. It's called "Be Here Now," which is to say, we're going to do whatever we're doing until we're done. I had a pastor tell me once, well, church is over when church is over. When's dinner over? When you're finished. And the Mexicans seem to work that way. And it's like they might not show up until 10 o'clock in the morning, but I spend a lot of time working until 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, it's like a whole different approach to, you know, when I'm here, I'm not multitasking. I'm focused on what I'm doing. And I don't know if you've had that experience, but I say that because it really impressed on me, and the feeling, the culture, the nightlife, the food, the camaraderie, you know, I could go on, just was so compelling.
Yeah.
And this was a long time ago. And I thought, now I'm at a point where I might be able to, I mean, there's a whole world down there.
Yeah.
That I would like to get to know better.
Okay, great. Well, we're going to get you there. Another great reason to learn Spanish is just for living here in Denver. I mean, a lot of people
no kidding
realize this, but over 30% of Denver speak Spanish. I mean, that's a huge population right here. And I lived in Montbello before I moved here to Central Park, and Montbello is like 70% Spanish speaking. But I'm even surprised here in Central Park, about half of my neighbors on the street speak Spanish.
Yeah.
And then like driving around, there's still all this construction going on. So like the other day I was just driving by the street that takes you down the refuge, and like all the music was in Spanish, and I was like, oh wow, this is funny.
Yeah. So cool. No, it's all over the place. And it was one of those things that I don't know, as a kid, you know, I'm you know, born in the 50s, so I'm a boomer. The whole Cold War thing, and you know, we're Americans, we speak English, and we're number one, and all that stuff is just like, come on, get over it, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's see here, Karl. Before we get started, I just want to tell you a little bit about my methodology, my style. Spanish comes from Spain and then was spread throughout, you know, the Americas. You got a couple.
It was unified in Spain, right? I mean, it was basically a proper Spanish under Queen Isabella or something. I mean, Spain is still. I went to Barcelona, where they don't consider themselves Spanish, and they speak differently and all that. Anyway, just.
Yeah, it does come from the more central part of Spain, which is called the Castilian part of Spain. So all over Spain, they speak Spanish. It's the national language. But you're right. In Barcelona, they have this other subculture, and they prefer Catalan. And there's actually like 10 different languages. Some people say it's a dialect. I lived in Barcelona, and I don't think it's a dialect. It's a different language, in my humble opinion.
Gotcha.
But yeah, Spanish is the national language that spread throughout the New World, you know, the Americas, and a couple of other places in Africa and Asia. They speak a little Spanish in the Philippines. And then you can see here the United States, right? This is what I was talking about earlier. And
a lot of that dark blue was Mexico once, so that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, exactly. So now, just like English is a little different in England or South Africa or Australia. If you've ever been to one of those countries, then you know the biggest communication barrier is the language, despite that it's English.
Right.
So that same kind of thing happens in the Spanish thing, right? So the accent from Argentina is really different from Mexico or Spain. Because I've lived in a few different countries, I like to teach a little bit of those differences just to prepare you for that. So that's what I call a holistic approach to Spanish. Last little thing, Karl, these are conversation classes. So you told me you're a perfectionist. Don't do that here with me.
Okay.
Just talk. It's okay to make mistakes. It's part of the process. This is the hard thing for adults to do. Everybody says you should learn a language as a small child. Not necessarily true. Adults have more cognitive capability. Our brains are stronger. We've been using them longer. The thing that kids do is they don't care if they make mistakes, and they don't ask why. They just accept it when they get corrected, right? So there's a lot we can learn from little kids in that aspect. Honestly, it's better for you to be making mistakes, especially with me, because I need to know your strengths and your weaknesses. Every student is a little different. And for me, it's just the most important thing to be trying, right? And I want you to feel comfortable so you can ask me as many questions as you'd like, okay?
Okay.
Okay, vamos a comenzar. So I do have a YouTube channel. I always recommend my students to subscribe to my YouTube channel. We're going to watch a little intro video of what I'm going to teach you how to say today. All right, you should be able to see this now.
Yep.
Hola, me llamo Claudia. ¿Cómo te llamas?
Me llamo David.
¿Cómo estás?
Estoy bien.
Mucho gusto. Igualmente.
Igualmente.
Okay. ¿De dónde eres?
Yo soy de los Estados Unidos.
¿Dónde vives?
Vivo en Colorado.
¿Dónde trabajas?
Trabajo en mi casa.
¿Qué te gusta?
Me gusta bailar.
¿Cuál es tu número de teléfono?
Mi número de teléfono es 720-257-8539.
Estamos en contacto.
Me parece bien.
Hasta luego.
Nos vemos. Okay, so Karl, could you understand any of that?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. Hey, if you could understand even a little bit, that's great. So I'll pop the link to this video over here. So right now you might be thinking, whoa, that's a lot, right? But I'm going to teach you how to say this. By the end of today's class, you can do all that. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you get those videos whenever I put a new one up. So basically, to start off a conversation, we start with our basic greetings, los saludos. Hola.
Hola, me llamo Claudia.
Oops, I think I need to share. Me llamo David.
¿Cómo estás?
Estoy bien.
Mucho
There we go.
gusto. Igualmente.
Okay, so Karl, hola. Yo soy de los Estados Unidos.
¿Dónde vives?
Vivo en Colorado. Karl, are you with me?
¿Dónde
Yeah,
trabajas?
yeah. What do you want?
Trabajo en mi casa. So it sounds like, did you open that video up on your end?
Oh, that's must be what's going on.
¿Cuál es?
That's what's going on. I clicked on it and then I'm hearing all this stuff going, what's going on? Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So can you see my screen again?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hola.
Hola.
So you're going to respond. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I got you. I got it. Yeah.
¿Cómo estás?
Estoy bien.
Perfecto. So these are just the basic greetings in Spanish. Now, a little bit about the culture. In most Spanish-speaking countries, it's not all, this can vary a little bit from one country to another, but in many Spanish-speaking countries, in informal situations, you greet people with un besito, a little kiss on the cheek, and that's for greeting family and friends. If you're more of a formal situation, like a business meeting, as you probably know, you're gonna shake hands with people typically.
Right.
Okay, Karl, one of the greatest things about Spanish, if you've tried to learn French, if you speak English, if you speak German, you're going to appreciate this. Spanish is phonetic. We've got 5 vowel sounds and we've essentially got 5 sounds in the Spanish language. They don't change. So, repite. A.
A,
I.
E,
O.
O,
U.
U,
A, I, O, U.
A, E, O, U.
A. Nada.
Nada.
Mapa.
Mapa.
Papa.
Papa.
A. Meme.
Meme.
Leche.
Leche.
Tele.
Tele.
E. Mini.
Mini.
BC.
BC.
Fiji.
Fiji.
O. Loco.
Loco.
Coco.
Coco.
Ocho.
Ocho.
U. Cuckoo.
Cuckoo.
Voodoo.
Voodoo.
Guru.
Guru.
Muy bien. Okay, so those are the 5 basic vowel sounds. If you can learn those and get those down, you can pretty much immediately start speaking Spanish. Bien. Hola, me llamo David. ¿Cómo te llamas? So you're going to say, me llamo Karl.
Me llamo Karl.
Me llamo Karl.
Me llamo Karl.
Mucho gusto, Karl. So here you can respond igualmente.
Igualmente.
Okay, bien, let's try that again. Hola, me llamo David. ¿Cómo te llamas?
Me llamo Karl.
Mucho gusto.
Igualmente.
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 So 3 common questions when you meet somebody would be, where are you from? ¿De dónde eres? Where do you live? ¿Dónde vives? And then where do you work? ¿Dónde trabajas? Karl, ¿de dónde eres?
Soy de Estados Unidos.
¿Y dónde vives?
What does donde vives mean again?
Where do you live?
Well, vivo en Denver.
¿Dónde trabajas?
Trabajo en informática.
Perfecto. Okay, let's do those again. ¿De dónde eres?
Soy de los Estados Unidos.
¿Dónde vives?
Vivo en Denver.
¿Dónde trabajas?
Trabajo en informática.
Muy bien. ¿Te gusta la comida cubana?
Sí, me gusta.
¿Te gusta la comida mexicana?
Sí, me gusta.
¿Te gusta la comida salvadoreña?
I don't know. Yeah,
So you
sí,
can
me
say
gusta.
no sé. I
No
don't
sé.
know. No sé.
No sé. Comida salvadoreña.
¿Te gusta la cerveza?
Sí, me gusta.
¿Te gusta el vino?
Yeah, sí, me gusta.
¿Te gusta el mojito?
Sí, me gusta.
¿Te gusta el fútbol?
Sí, me gusta.
¿Te gusta el fútbol americano?
Yeah, sí, me gusta.
¿Te gusta el béisbol?
Sí, me gusta.
¿Te gusta estudiar?
To study?
Ajá.
Yeah, sí, me gusta. Yeah, when I have to.
¿Te gusta
Yeah, sí.
cocinar?
Sí, me gusta.
¿Te gusta bailar?
Yeah, poco.
Sí, me gusta un poco.
Sí, me gusta un poco.
¿Te gusta esquiar?
Sí, me gusta.
Perfecto, Karl. Okay, so now we're going to move on to 3 important questions for the Spanish classroom. Do you know what this means by chance? ¿Puedo hacer una pregunta?
No.
No? Okay. So it means, can I ask a question? So a little classroom etiquette, if you want to be polite, you start by saying, repeat after me, ¿puedo hacer una pregunta?
¿Puedo hacer una pregunta?
Perfecto. Okay, what about this one? ¿Qué significa estudiante?
No. No.
So that's going to be, what does estudiante mean?
Oh, okay. Yeah, which is what I was going to ask. I didn't know what estudiante means.
Super important. If you don't know what something means, very simple. Just say, ¿qué significa? Okay, repeat after
¿Qué
me.
significa?
¿Qué significa estudiante?
¿Qué significa estudiante?
So I would respond and say, estudiante is student.
Of course. Yeah.
So let's practice. Vamos a practicar. Ask me the questions that you see here. So you're going to say, ¿puedo hacer una pregunta?
¿Puedo hacer una pregunta?
Sí. And now, ¿qué significa computadora?
¿Qué significa computadora?
Computer.
¿Qué significa oficina?
Oficina.
Oficina.
That's going to be office.
Okay. ¿Qué significa papel?
Paper.
¿Qué significa empleado?
Empleado.
Empleado.
Empleado significa employee.
Empleado. Okay. ¿Qué significa director?
Director is director.
¿Qué significa estudiante?
Estudiante significa student.
¿Qué significa salón de conferencia?
Salón de conferencia significa conference room.
Oh, God. ¿Qué significa salón de clase?
Classroom. Okay, muy bien. What about this one? ¿Cómo se dice student?
¿Cómo se dice? Se dice student?
So this is the opposite of que significa. This is how do you say.
Oh,
So you might be talking to me one day and you're just missing one word, right? So you stop real quick and you say, ¿Cómo se dice? Followed by whatever English word you want to learn how to say in Spanish. ¿Cómo se dice? Okay, so let's practice with these questions now.
¿Cómo se dice computer?
Computadora,
Computer. Oh, computer. Okay. ¿Cómo se dice office?
oficina,
¿Cómo se dice paper?
papel,
¿Cómo se dice employee?
empleado,
¿Cómo se dice director?
director,
¿Cómo se dice student?
estudiante,
¿Cómo se dice conference room?
salón de conferencia,
¿Cómo se dice classroom?
salón de clase. Muy bien. So we've just learned 3 super useful questions. Tell me what the first one means. ¿Puedo hacer una pregunta?
The pregunta is throwing me. I can't remember.
So the word pregunta itself means question. So, ¿puedo
Can I-
hacer una pregunta? Can I ask a question?
Okay.
What
I
about
immediately go to pregnant and I'm like, I
Oh.
can't derive it.
Yeah. So that's not pregnant.
Yeah, but that's where my brain immediately goes. It's like that, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. That's okay. You'll get there. So repeat it. If it's trouble, if your brain's trying to make that connection, you have to kind of break that neural pathway. So
Yes.
remember, puedo hacer una pregunta. Pregunta means question. Pregunta, question.
Puedo hacer una pregunta.
Yeah. And then there's a verb, preguntar, which means to ask, right? So to ask, preguntar, pregunta, question. ¿Puedo hacer una pregunta? Can I ask a question?
Puedo hacer una pregunta.
¿Cómo se dice student?
How do you say student?
Exactly. And what about ¿qué significa estudiante?
What does student mean, or what does
estudiante mean? Yeah.
what estudiante mean? Okay.
Yeah. So you'll after class, you'll have to study these to work on memorizing them. But
Right.
you'll get there.
Okay.
One thing I always like to talk about in the first lesson is what is a cognate. Okay, so cognates are words that exist in 2 or more languages that essentially mean the same thing. They look similar, they sound similar. The sound might vary a little bit, the spelling might vary a little bit, but at the end of the day, you can kind of put them together. As you saw with pregunta, it doesn't mean pregnant, so it doesn't always work that way. But the first bank in the world was established in Italy by the Medici family.
Right.
And because Italy is right next to Spain, they did a lot of commerce and the system eventually arrived to Spain. Now, the Italian word was banca, which for whatever reason changed to banco in Spain. That same thing happened in France with banque, and then the same thing happened in England with bank. So, ¿qué significa actor? What does actor mean, Karl?
What does it mean?
Uh-huh.
Actor.
First word that comes to mind. Yep, there you
Actor.
go.
Okay. These are in
These are Spanish words. Yeah.
These are Spanish words. Okay.
¿Qué significa chocolate?
Chocolate.
¿Qué significa director?
Director.
¿Qué significa final?
Final.
¿Qué significa hotel?
Hotel.
¿Qué significa mango?
Mango.
¿Qué significa normal?
Normal.
¿Qué significa pasta?
Pasta.
¿Qué significa simple?
Simple.
Right. So without having studied Spanish, day number 1 of Spanish class, you instantly know what these mean, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the purpose behind this part of the segment is to try to build up your confidence, even starting from scratch, because you're not actually starting from scratch. Spanish was essentially directly born from Latin. English was heavily influenced by Latin. So what that means is there's about a 20, maybe a 30% overlap between our languages of these words called cognates, which, you know, on paper, at least you'll instantly identify and be able to understand. So the point is, like, if you're driving around Mexico tomorrow, Cabo, and you pass by a building that has Banco de Mexico on it, you know, Banco isn't that much of a stretch from bank, right? And then you'll probably see the ATMs in front and kind of put it together like, oh, that looks like a bank. Banco is bank.
Right, right.
So you can kind of guess in a lot of circumstances and be right. Bien, vamos con los números hasta 10. Repite: 0,
0,
1,
1,
2,
2,
3,
3,
4,
4,
5,
5,
6,
6,
7,
7,
8,
8,
9,
9,
10.
10.
Perfecto. So I'm going to read a phone number here. Sorry, I'm about to sneeze.
No worries.
Okay, so I'm going to read a phone number here, and I want you to tell me whose phone number it is. ¿De quién es el número? 911.
911.
¿De quién es el número? 720-634-2589.
The language school.
¿De quién es el número? 303-576-0065.
Dominoes.
¿De quién es el número? 303-218-6242.
Walmart.
You got it. Perfecto. Karl, ¿cuál es tu número de teléfono?
What's 9?
9
9, 0, 8, 9, wait. 9, 6, trace, 0, 6, no, what's 7?
7.
0, 7, 6, 2.
All right. So the number you just gave me was 908-963-0762.
That's correct.
That's correct. Okay, perfecto. Yeah. Little tip for you there, because you're kind of struggling.
Yeah.
For the time being, until you really get that down, if you're ever exchanging phone numbers with someone, it's very helpful to write it down and then say it out loud, because it'll help you keep, because when you're thinking in your head.
Oh, you could tell. I was like, oh, yeah. Where am I? Yeah.
And then also you can always just show them the number to make sure they got it too.
Yeah.
Okay, Karl, apunta mi número. Do you have something to write with?
Sí.
Okay. So I'm going to give you my phone number. Write it down. Apunta mi número. Mi número de teléfono es 720-257-8539.
the last two numbers?
So I'll just start from the beginning, okay?
Okay.
Mi número de teléfono es 720-257-859.
720-257-8539.
That's the one. Okay, nice job, Karl. Perfecto.
Oof.
Karl, ¿cuánto cuesta un papel?
Un centavo.
Un centavo. Muy bien. ¿Cuánto cuesta un bolígrafo?
$1.
¿Cuánto cuesta un lápiz?
I don't know how to say 5 cents. 5 centavos. Oh, it's written there. Oh, God.
¿Cuánto cuesta un marcador?
$2.
¿Cuánto cuesta un paquete de papel?
$5.
¿Cuánto cuesta un paquete de lápices?
$6.
And it's pronounced dólares. Dólares. Dólares.
Dólares.
¿Cuánto cuesta un paquete de bolígrafos?
$7.
¿Cuánto cuesta un paquete de marcadores?
$8.
¿Cuánto cuesta un libro de español?
$9.
¿Cuánto cuesta una pizarra?
$10.
10
$10.
dólares.
Dólares.
There we go. 10 dólares.
$10.
Okay, bien, Karl. Perfecto. Now we're going to learn español para la escuela y el trabajo para matar dos pájaros de un tiro. So we're going to learn Spanish that most of my students can use both at school and at work so that we can kill two birds with one stone. The first category is things. In Spanish, you say cosas.
For what? For things?
Things, yeah. Repite, cosas.
Cosas.
Computadora.
Computadora.
Impresora.
Impresora.
Televisión.
Televisión.
Teléfono.
Teléfono.
Marcador.
Marcador.
Papel.
Papel.
The next category is places. Lugares.
Lugares.
Salón de conferencia.
Salón de conferencia.
Salón de clase.
Salón de clase.
Oficina.
Oficina.
Escuela.
Escuela.
All right, now we've got our last category, which is people. In Spanish, you say personas.
Personas.
Profesora.
Profesora.
Estudiante.
Estudiante.
Director.
Director.
Empleada.
Empleada.
Okay, nice job, Karl. Good. So one thing that I try to do with my students is to simplify this process. As you experience with your French classes, most language instructors tend to get fascinated with the grammar and teach through grammar rules. I do not like that approach. Grammar has its place, but it comes later. Grammar is to help us perfect a language, but I've yet to meet anyone that was given a grammar book when they were learning how to speak their first language.
Yeah.
So how do little kids learn their first language? They look for the verbal cues from their parents. They intuitively put things together. They start to understand things as their vocal cords develop. They start being able to produce one word. They start with one word, then they start with a few words, then they start adding full phrases. And word by word, they begin to speak the language, right? So the best piece of advice that I can give you is to think about learning a language like that, one word at a time. It takes approximately 1,000 new words to be able to actually start conversing in the language, which might sound overwhelming, but it's only
Big number.
It's only 10 words a day for 3 months. So it's not that bad, actually, right? So how do you study Spanish? How do you memorize vocabulary? My favorite way is flashcards. And if you sign up with me, you'll get a book that has the flashcards in it that you can actually cut out. But you can also get started with this app called Quizlet, and I'm going to send you the link over. This is free to use. This has already been built for you. So if we take the advice of, oops, I probably need to share the screen with you. There we go. So this is called Quizlet, right? So if we take the advice of what I just said and think about learning 10 words a day, and then even going a little bit deeper into that, looking at the way kids learn their first language. We're naturally wired to learn languages in a certain way. So we can learn a lot from kids. The first step is to understand the language. The implication for you as the adult language learner is when you're working with flashcards, the first round, you always do this in 2 rounds. You get about 10 words at a time. And you start by looking at the side that is in Spanish, trying to understand what it means in English, okay? So, Karl, ¿qué significa cosas? And if you don't know, that's okay, just tell me right away.
I don't know.
So we're gonna click this star here. Now we're gonna flip it over and we see that it means things.
Okay.
Cosas, things, right?
Yep.
A cool thing about this app, just so you know, is it will pronounce it for you in perfect Spanish.
Cosas.
Got it.
Okay, so when we click on the star, that's going to make us repeat it again in the future. ¿Qué significa lápiz?
Laptop?
Pencil.
Pencil. I was close.
Laptop's even easier, laptop.
Okay.
Okay, libro.
Book?
Pizarra. Whiteboard.
Whiteboard. Okay.
Bolígrafo. Pen.
No, pen. Okay.
Marcador.
Marker.
Papel.
Paper.
Computadora.
Computer.
Impresora.
Copy machine.
It's technically a printer.
Oh, printer. Okay.
Printer. From the image you saw it, you know, it's
Yeah, it looks like
all
a
in
copy
one, but yeah,
machine.
it's technically a printer. Okay,
Okay.
televisión,
Television.
teléfono.
Telephone.
Okay, good. All right, so that was round 1.
Huh.
We're going to click these options so that we repeat the starred ones and we hit start over. And we've got 5 to review. ¿Qué significa cosas?
Things.
Lápiz.
Pencil.
Pizarra.
Blank.
Whiteboard.
Whiteboard.
That one gets everybody. Pizarra is hard.
Because I want to go to pizza, like pregnant.
That's what everybody wants to do. Pizza is even easier. Pizza is pizza.
Yeah.
Bolígrafo.
Bolígrafo. Pen.
Good. Pizarra.
Whiteboard.
Impresora.
Printer.
Okay, good. So we got through all of those. Now, step 2 in this process, we changed the option. So we're going to answer with Spanish now. This time might be a little harder. ¿Cómo se dice things?
Cosas.
Pencil. Lápiz.
Lapis. It was getting there.
If
Yeah,
you have to think about it, just go ahead and flip it over, because the
Okay.
idea with flashcards is you do it really fast. And
Okay.
if you have to think, that means you don't know it yet. So no shame in just saying, I don't know. Okay, book.
Libre.
Very close. Libro. Libro. And libre does mean something. So because of that, I'm going to star it so that we come back to it. Libro.
Yeah.
Whiteboard.
Pissarre.
Very close. Pizarra with an
Pizarra.
A on the end. Pizarra. Pen.
Bolígrafo.
Marker.
Marcador.
Marcador. Yeah.
Marcador. Papel.
So paper, papel, good. Computer.
Not computadore. No,
Close. Computadora.
I can't get those. Yeah. Okay. Seeing a pattern.
Printer.
Impressore.
Impresora.
Impressor. I'm seeing a pattern. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Televisión. Telefono.
Good. All right. So let's review these again. Pencil.
It's gone.
So pencil is lápiz.
Lapis. Yeah.
Book.
Libra.
Okay, so that also means something.
Libro.
Libro. Libro.
Well, we'll go through all the vowels. Yeah.
Whiteboard.
Pizarra.
Good. Book.
Libra.
Libro.
Libro.
Marker.
Marcador.
Book.
Libro.
Pencil.
Geez. And I
Lapis.
know it, it's the last part. When I go to laptop. Yeah, lapis. Lapis.
Computer.
Computadora.
Computador. Computadora.
Computadora.
Printer.
Impressora.
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 It's okay. We're getting better. So now we're down to 3. Pencil.
Lapis.
Computer.
Computadora.
Printer.
Impressora.
Perfecto. Okay, you got it. Nice. All right. So the idea with that activity, right? That was just the first time that you're doing that activity. You're going to want to do that. Memorize vocabulary. That's the most important thing in this language learning process, at least for the first 3 months, until you hit those 1,000 words. You want to do that. My recommendation, of course, you got to work around your schedule, right? But in an ideal world, you're going to do that activity at least 2 or 3 times a day for 2 to 3 days in a row. And if you can do that, you should have the new vocabulary memorized. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it takes shorter, but the really critical part of this is to be consistent with it and to be constant with it, because as time lapses, you start forgetting things, right? So you want to maintain this new information fresh in your head. And then as soon as you get it to the point where you can do them frontwards and backwards without having to think, then you've got them memorized, right? So don't take that as a rule. You have to do it 3 times a day for 3 days in a row. If you get it down, you get it down, right? So cool. Let's review the dialogue that we learned today to introduce yourself to a Spanish speaker. Hola, me llamo David. ¿Cómo te llamas?
Me llamo Karl.
¿Cómo estás?
Estoy bien.
Mucho gusto.
Igualmente.
¿De dónde
Did I
eres?
say it right?
Yeah, you got it
Igualmente.
right. Nailed it.
Okay.
¿De dónde eres?
Soy, oh geez. Where am I from? Is that what that means? Oh, okay. I see your head now moving. Okay. So soy de Denver.
¿Y dónde vives?
Vivo en Denver.
¿Dónde trabajas?
Trabajo en informática.
¿Qué te gusta?
Me gusta. What do I like? Cycling.
Me gusta el ciclismo.
Me gusta el ciclismo.
¿Cuál es tu número de teléfono?
This número de teléfono is, you spell out the number?
Yep.
Okay. Niente 06.
Yeah, so your phone number is 908, right?
Yeah.
So write it down on a piece of paper and then try and tell me. It'll be easier.
I just forget how to say zero.
Cero.
Zero. Niente 08.
So what's that first number you're saying? Because that's not right.
Niente?
Nueve.
Nueve.
Nueve is 9.
908 963 0. That's siete.
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 Siete. Seis, dos.
Perfecto. So after you meet somebody, you can say something like, let's stay in touch, which in English, Spanish, estamos en contacto. So repeat after me. Estamos en contacto.
Estamos en contacto.
And then the response to that would be sounds good, or in español, me parece bien.